4 p.m. Stand up. It's count time. It's time for every man and woman to stand up and be counted. I'm Brother L.D. Lazoper, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Count Time Podcast. Thank you to my loyal, committed, dedicated patrons who've been listening and staying in tune to Count Time for the last 2.5 to 3 years. Thank you for being there for us. Now I want you to get ready for this 3-part series that we have coming up with Jerome Big Duck Smith, where he's going to be telling you from his own voice, and you'll be able to see him and hear him tell his story about his experience on the March on Washington, his experience as a freedom rider, experience as fighting for the rights of his people and his community. Also, we have my favorite person here today, Dr. Joyce Marie Jackson, the chair of LSU Geography and Anthropology Department. Welcome to Count Time, Dr. Jackson. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us. Now, please do not forget to scroll down and y'all hit the subscribe button. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. And also, don't forget to like and share. Remember, man can shackle the hands, man can shackle the feet, but only you can shackle the mind. The mind is free to travel wherever you dare to take it. Welcome to another edition of Count Time Podcast.
Because sometimes they say,
You got good home travel.
oh, yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to see.
Oh, man, what I found out, somebody, he wanted to know something about, somebody had told him, I was at the other place, they wanted to know something about something I was into. And he came there. He said, Mister, what they call you Big Duck? He said, why they call you Big Duck? He said, because they're one of my ducklings. He said, well, how can me and my sister be a duckling?
Oh, okay.
He said, his sister.
Me and my sister.
He got something going on.
Me and my sister.
Yeah, that say something about his house, too. Yeah. So he had a tremendous man presence. They might have been about 11, 12 years old or something. I forgot the exact age.
He gonna be a leader.
Oh yeah, he gonna be a leader. But he already leading. He taking care of that system, man.
Yeah.
That's a serious move, like that,
Mm-hmm.
Like that. But now see what's happening now. What happens places like this, they get too much integration too quick. Because there's a thing about just being on you. See, when I come up around here, it was all on us, and they give you a certain value in a certain kind of way that just it's hard just to pick up. It's hard just to pick up. Before they built this building here, they was working on it. I come out the hospital in New York and to join in with some activities they was having with the difficulties that, but all that's gone. See, all that kind of attitude is gone. But it's always gonna get stronger. It's always gonna be a.
So now you was instrumental in them building this building?
No, I was coming out of jail in Alabama somewhere, and I got out of jail. I had got wait somewhere, and I was in New York. And they told me they was thinking about somebody that was just used to have a grocery store here. And they had asked me to come down, so I come down, and the city was giving them a whole lot of negativity. So I said, I just help some. I don't want no official nothing, but that's been quite a few years ago. So I brought other folk that was in that movement across the country to help the folks that was actually in here then,
Who was the mayor then? Boone Landry?
No, the mayor was Ski Row, I think. Got a name Ski Row. Yeah.
Did you work pretty good with Mario?
Well, I knew Morial and them before he was the mayor stuff, I know them from the neighborhood. Right off of St. Bernard and Claiborne, he had 10 people live around there. I didn't know him and as such, but I know his family members there that lived there. Then I knew him when he got in office. A lot of folks.
What advice would you give to the young folks today? What all is going on, social media and
But it's hard.
everything else?
It's hard really to give them advice if they're not in your face. You have to read them or through them, and then try to see where their love is. If they don't have no love in the house, that's one kind of advice. That's one approach. If they have love and they just think it's facilitating their growth stuff, that's another kind of approach. So there's different strategies for different folks and situations. You know, if you go, they come in just cold turkey. You have to try to find a way for them to see something in value in themselves, regardless of what the crowd say. But this value have to be something that they can see beyond what's being mandated by the environment. You know, they got to see that specialness in themselves, and if you could find ways in showing them that specialness in themselves, that helps. And little inch by inch, you know, they got some, even around me, some I could see them stumbling like I would be stumbling, and they would find ways to lock into something that'll give them a value when they meet the mirror. You know? And sometimes I tell some folks, speak to the image in the mirror and see what you think. No, the answer in many cases is with them. And it's difficult, it's much difficult, much harder to define when the whole power and the viciousness of media is so concentrated. That it's so concentrated. You know, what was ugly yesterday is like eating bubble gum today. There ain't no ugly in it. It's bitches. I wonder how some of them kids make it, you know. Yeah. Really, it ain't. It's you can use certain things as reference, you know. But when you go to clocking it in time, they're on another page. So it's a constant struggle, you know. There was a constant struggle.
Remember the breakdown of the whole family unit now too.
Well, the whole country don't have no family. It's so vicious, the reference point. You very seldom left. They like this. 3, 4, 5 years old. Some of their minds be so swift in the negative. In high school, went to school in Pineywood. And I went there and I was looking around. Man, I started crying. I seen Miss Bush picture. And I was going to meet John Lewis and all them for demonstrations in Mississippi.
She was still alive then?
I got to tell her about it.
So her picture.
Her picture. She went there to that school, that boarding school, and she was a student there, and she was brilliant. Man, I couldn't control it, man. I mean, I just respected her so much because she had taught us so much. In high school, we used to go up there to Southern, and she the one who had that boy, get this bass, you're going to do this next year. Next year competition.
She had vision in that.
Yeah. And when he opened up, you know, we won that too.
Now, did you go to Southern every year from the 10th
From
grade?
the 9th grade. 10th grade really, but the 9th grade I went, but I wasn't a
Did y'all win the competition?
Oh yeah, we won a lot of stuff up there.
Oh.
Different, because they had individual solos and this, that, and the other. Now we didn't win it every year, but because you had them powerhouse school, they had a powerhouse school from Shreveport and the Booker T school from here. It was always tough, but we was right in the money. We was right in the money.
So Shreveport give y'all run for y'all money?
Shreveport had some good orchestras. They had some good orchestras. Serious. Some individual for the strength we had from here, not just a great teacher, but if you had X number of people, it's just neighborhood, all the musicians.
Now, so growing up, you wanted to be a musician, or not really?
No, I wanted to do something in the music thing, but I didn't know. There always was a cloud over it because I didn't know exactly. I wanted something else, and that became that movement. I couldn't say I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a carpenter. I never had an answer really until the moment hit, till that thing bit me.
When was that moment?
When I met my mama, I didn't know.
Okay.
I told you my mama said we wasn't gonna move in front of Maison Blanche store. We didn't give them white folks my seat. And then when I had to go pay my mother's bill, I had to put Mrs. before her name. Better not come out to the house without it. You get slapped, beat. I probably wouldn't be sitting there and say, you disrespect that me like that, you know. And I didn't know that was that, you know. She used to tell her, well, they ain't better than me. I mean, she used to tell us that all the time. My mom, one time, she used to make all kinds of stuff, and white folks come by from us and this, that, and the other. And one of them white families there, she could sew, make leather things, take movie pictures, shoot pictures and all. So one of them wanted to know if she wanted a set of the great books because they was getting a new set.
Well, he told me about that.
Yeah, that's serious. Yeah. So when you got the great books, she said, I want you to sit down, do blah blah blah, write it up. See, I'm gonna bring them back. They think you ain't smarter than them. And then she hit it. And when they found it, my name was on it. And they know our son couldn't do that.
So
that's where that come from. They ain't better than you. You know she.
But your mom and your dad, they had you had a lot of uncles and aunties around.
Oh yeah, I had that from man. The whole neighborhood used to, but I had my uncles and stuff.
Yeah, your family too.
Oh yeah, my uncles was influenced, man. My uncles was what it is. That's something I don't hear. Like now it'd be negative stuff, but nowadays you don't see as much of that where you have that the youngsters grow up with a kind of spiritual presence. Yeah, spiritual presence in that sense. That was good.
Yeah, my uncle this, my uncle that, my auntie this. You don't hear that anymore.
No,
that's not that kind of.
And most people don't know their neighbors anymore.
You have children?
Oh yeah, I got children.
Oh, okay, how many children do you have?
Just a few.
You can be two or more.
They don't like me to be calling them up.
That's a spiritual thing. You call them forward.
They want, man. Say we got to own you, man. People be coming, claiming you all the time. Claiming you all the time, man.
You ain't gonna be getting no rest, huh?
No, they just say that. Sometimes you gotta pass on what's been given, you know. You gotta.
You put too much pressure on them,
No, not really. They they independent. Got some really strong girls and boys. Some stumble, get up, carry on, get in a straight line. You know, some one would be thinking of one was what that college was. He went there. He was tutoring teachers.
Love.
He's in school. He went to school in El Paso. He playing basketball over there and stuff. You know, with two of them teachers. But children, just a matter of getting. You know, it could take a little just that for them. Just anything could just shove them in one direction that's a negative, the other two, everything be smooth to them until they got to pass the test. You know, yeah, you don't know where, you know, everybody have they, and I be thankful, man, to see folks fight with a thing, try to get situated in something positive, you know. And as easy as we think it is, it's difficult for children out here, man. In some ways, it's in some ways not. In some ways, there's a question of identity, of defining themselves, which I find was easier for me to do when I was growing up, because the systems are so intertwined and stuff. Like, there was one child came in here, and she was in a school, and it was one summer they was having there, and this child was lost. It was 2 or 3 of them, I ain't gonna call the school they was going to, but they had been bleached out, young kids, because they got in the highly polished so-called white school, and they lost themselves. You know? See, because one of them came in here when the children was, I think they was doing a ritual they do with strange fruit. They would be reciting that, and they would be doing this, that, and the other. But this child was accustomed to being around the opposite of herself, and she couldn't make the adjustments, you know, where the dominant presence was her. I mean, telling the darker child, that was a different. She come up just going through that whole thing, and she ain't had nobody bringing her to herself, even though she was on that mainstream on the other side.
Well, you know, that's basically what's going on in some ways in the community now, where at one time basically y'all had the same enemy.
Yeah.
You know, they always fighting against the exact same system.
Yeah.
But now there's no more clear line anymore. At least don't seem to be. But it is. But
it is there. But it is.
Yeah, you're doing a good job of covering it up. You can't really see. It's a lot
of us get lost too, because that other thing is so overpowering. It ain't about trying to be somebody else. And that the else they don't have a defined presence because of the things happening so fast and at so many different levels, you know. You know, that'd be rough for young people. There's a lot of pressure on them.
Like these days with the cell phone, that young people have access to so much.
Oh,
that's
man.
good and bad.
Oh, that is bad because they don't control it. There's no filter.
Oh,
right. You know what I'm saying? But there's no filter. It's like when I could be in certain places when I was a boy and I would know not to curse on this block. Them children nowadays, there ain't no such thing. They don't have no filter. See, I had a filter. You know, so you can, in a way, you have to sort of read into this situation. You know, they had a young to come in here when I come around here, and I watch how a youngster come in, and some simple things that they'll sit, see you sitting at the door, or sitting at the desk there, desk there, and they'll just walk in boldly, throw the door open, don't even say,
Good afternoon.
don't say nothing, but they get stopped. I said, man, you don't see that red light up there? Man, stop. You ain't seen them ladies sitting there, you ain't even told them good evening, no. Go back outside, come back in here. All right, man. And one of them older boys will come say, hey, youngster, You got to go out the door now. You're going to come back in or you're going to stay out. And you got to tell the lady good evening. They say, well, yeah, but he. You want to know his name? So they be one of the elders or me or somebody. Say, you want to know his name? I ain't no he. You better get out that door till you learn how to come in here. But it's about a love thing. The children, there's just so much going on after them, man. There's so much coming against them, man. Some of the things I'll be sitting there sometimes I ain't never confronted at that age. At the age, it's like this. It's like this at them, man. It's like this. They got a little youngster here. Sometimes with my brother, one of them being there, he come in here, he takes so much time with his little sister, man. He about 13 or something, 12, 13, but he take so much time to make her sit in there. He'll come over there, and he'll come speak to her again. And then one day I was happened to be in here, and he went, this little child, she went down that hall. He came back to her, told her sit there, and said, didn't I tell you don't get out that chair unless I walk down there with you? You don't know nobody in here. Don't you ever get out that chair in here. I see he talking to his little sister, understand? So he preparing her the way they probably dealt with him. Because somebody
So he got good home training.
oh, yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to see.
Oh, man, what I found out, he wanted to know something about, somebody had told him, I was at the other place, they wanted to know something about something I was into. And he came there. He said, Mister, what they call you, Big Duck? He said, why they call you Big Duck? He said, because they're one of my ducklings. He said, well, how can me and my sister be a duckling?
Oh, okay.
He said his sister.
Me and my sister.
You know, he got something going on.
Me and my sister.
Yeah, that says something about his house too. Yeah. So he had a tremendous man presence. You know, he might have been about 11, 12 years old or something. I forgot the exact age.
He gonna be a leader.
Oh yeah, he gonna be a leader, but he already leading. He taking care of that sister, man. That's a serious move, like that, you know. Like that. But now see what's happening now. What happens places like this, they get too much integration too quick. Because there's a thing about just being on you. See, when I come up around here, it was all on us. And they give you a certain value in a certain kind of way that just it's hard just to pick up. It's hard just to pick up. Before they built this building here, they was working on it. I come out the hospital in New York and to join in with some activities they was having with the difficulties that but all that's gone. See, all that kind of attitude is gone. But it's always gonna get stronger. It's always gonna be a.
So now you was instrumental in them building this building?
I was coming out of jail in Alabama somewhere, and I got out of jail. I had got work somewhere, and I was in New York, and they told me they was thinking about somebody was gonna. There was just used to have a grocery store here. And they had asked me to come down, so I come down, and the city was giving them a whole lot of negativity. So I said, I just help some. I don't want no official nothing, but that's been quite a few years ago. So I brought other folk that was in that movement across the country to help the folks that was actually in here then,
Who was the mayor then? Moon Landry?
No, the mayor was Ski Row, I think. Got a name Ski Row. Yeah.
So did you work pretty good with Mario?
But I knew Mario and them before he was the mayor stuff, I mean, I know them from the neighborhood. Right off of St. Bernard and Claiborne, he had 10 people live around there. I didn't know him and as such, but I know his family members there that lived there. Then I knew him when he got in office. A lot of folks.
What advice would you give to the young folks today? What all is going on, social media and
But it's hard.
everything else?
It's hard really to give them advice if if they're not in your face. You have to read them or through them, and then try to see where their love is. If they don't have no love in the house, that's one kind of advice. That's one approach. If they have love and it's just thing is facilitating their growth stuff, that's another kind of approach. So there's different strategies for different folks in situations. You know, if you go, they come in just cold turkey. You have to try to find a way for them to see something in value in themselves, regardless of what the crowd say. But this value have to be something that they can see beyond what's being mandated by the environment. You know, they got to see that specialness in themselves, and if you could find ways in showing them that specialness in themselves, that helps. And a little inch by inch, you know, they got some, even around me, some I could see them stumbling like I would be stumbling, and they would find ways to lock into something that'll give them a value when they meet the mirror. You know? And sometimes I tell some folks, speak to the image in the mirror and see what you think. No, the answers in many cases is with them. And it's difficult, it's much difficult, much harder to define when the whole power and the viciousness of media is so concentrated. That it's so concentrated. You know, what was ugly yesterday is like eating bubble gum today. There ain't no ugly in it. It's bitches. I wonder how some of them kids make it, you know. Yeah. Really, it ain't. It's you can use certain things as reference, you know. But when you go to clocking it in time, they're on another page. So it's a constant struggle, you know. There was a constant struggle.
Remember the breakdown of the whole family unit now too.
Well, the whole country don't have no family. Yeah. It's so vicious, the reference point. You know, you very seldom have they like this. 3, 4, 5 years old. Some of their minds be so swift in the negative.
New Orleans is a place that still has a lot of that.
Yeah.
But most places don't. I mean, you don't know who your neighbor is.
The village is no longer intact.
Yeah.
You can't speak.
And some neighborhoods, some places, I'll be all over the place, but in some neighborhoods you find a certain kind of, in a positive sense, a certain kind of community tact that's locked on lock. Look like it's been there forever. The way the folks associate with each other, there's still those pockets of this, but that the swiftness of the street negative is the paralyzing element. Because everybody that's reacting to the negative, in many ways they're not wanting to be negative, but the streets are so, you know, it's just.
So how can we overcome that negativeness?
If I would answer that, you wouldn't ever have enough seats in there.
You got the answer.
Well, one of the strange. If you be good to yourself, then you automatically in some ways find a way to be good to the other. But you cannot allow the other to drown you. So you get things to be decent, but you cannot allow the indecent to drown you. The question becomes, is how to keep those two elements from exploding, because they don't have an open arms to the other. That's why a lot of negative on the street. And you could have, you see it in all over. They come and get me. They be all over the place, and you see youngsters this year is a whole different character than next year in terms of how they view the world and stuff.
And the sad thing about it, where the system that we are in, we find ourselves in, do we really want the best for you? Because
that's a hell of a question there.
Because they rather lock us up than to raise you up
And
educate you. Because the correctional system do not correct anything.
Oh no, there ain't no such thing.
No, there's no such thing. So it's not a correction system.
No, that don't have. That's not definitely there. And then sometimes you need to be in a situation where you can't take an apple and try to raise it with a peach. Mm-hmm. You got to have some positivity as it relates to your own, and then you're going to step out and you make a shake hands with the peach. But you can't come first and disqualify yourself as the apple. There's a lot of there's a lot of strength, there's a lot of strangeness happening now. But the youngsters don't connect to themselves. Even a few years back, there seemed to be a loss of something, and at the same time, you have another dimension of youngsters that seem to be doing all the things right. They just be gelling all the things right, and that's really the achievement. The ones that can hold themselves together, because this is a rough time. It ain't like it was in my time. I mean, in ways. I mean, it ain't the sameness. They always, but somebody would stumble and whatever on a negative. But now there's a lot happening. It's a strange world. There's a lot happening. Seriously happening. And the role of the adults, see, like with this school across the street here. Now you have a large group of white kids that come in with another group of black kids. And there's an imbalance in terms of how they're being served, even though they're in the same building. And that needs to be, in some ways, some equalization of a certain kind of emotional presence in there. I don't have the answer, but there's something that's there was a young fella in here. I was at the other place, and they were saying, man, in my school there, they got a fella that in charge, man. He be carrying on like that man that was running for the presidency. He was carrying on like Trump. And this boy is about 14 years old.
14-year-old thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the other kids say, they be sitting and then they be playing that ball, and I'll be around here sometime. And they get into these side conversations. Say, yeah, man be acting like carrying on like Trump. And one of them say, yeah, but suppose one of us, ain't none of us could do all that stuff Trump be doing and get away with it. That's the one reading the total situation. Yeah, like no black man could go do all that kind of response on the negative or garbage can kind of comment. But Trump could get away with it. That would it. Now these young kids ain't nobody. They just analyzing it for themselves.
Okay.
But it's like you learned. You was a freedom rider. But what you learned, freedom is not free.
Well, that's true. It ain't never was free.
So what is freedom then?
No. I don't think freedom is a word. It's emotion that's constantly have to be defined. And they put it in a stagnant situation there. But I think that I was the kind of person that if you do this, see them fingers in my chest, it wasn't a word.
So that meant a lot back. I mean, for him to what it was again, what you call it? It was Pastor Matthews or Brother Matthews. Tell you along with it. Thank you, Miss Tassie.
Thank you, Miss David.
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
But so we talking about the word freedom. So that's what you call it?
Well,
Transitional word. What word? Transitional.
All right.
Well, it's a non-word if you deal with it. Depends how far you want to step back when it wasn't a word. When it wasn't a word.
Well, you know, I think of the word free, then the word dome.
Yeah.
The word dome doesn't have two different meanings. Dome is something covers you, right? Like the word, you know, like they call your head a dome. You ever heard people say those days? We got to put something in that dome up there. But the Superdome, right down the street over here, right? It's something that's covered, something that holds something.
What time it is? Let me see what the next one I got. I gave you much time as I
Yeah, but
could.
we appreciate
You
that.
gave us a lot of time.
Okay,
We
before we
certainly
close.
appreciate it.
Okay, well, first off, I'd like before we close, I'd like to thank first Dr. Joyce Marie Jackson here, the chair, the first female chair at LSU of a department of geography and anthropology.
That's a strange mix.
That's what Dr. Jackson is the
Yeah.
chair of that department at LSU. We'd like to thank her for organizing this, bringing us together, meet with this great man. I'd like to say our Roy Highness here, who had a chance to. We're going to call him like the father of many nations. So we're going to be for Father's Day, we're going to say to our father of many, happy Father's Day to all, and thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this moment in time with us, and I'm honored to sit before you, to sit at your feet. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with us your experience.
It's all the same thing all the time. You sit with folks, you be thankful because you didn't have to see the day. So I'm thankful whatever I'm allowed to see of value, of purpose, because so many didn't meet this day.
That's true.
Right.
Especially those that have been on a journey similar to yours. I won't say exactly like it, but your journey has been incredible.
How many around here are still alive that was on the front lines with you, man?
Wow. But not of them, I mentioned Jones' name and George's name and Raymond, and that it's a long list.
You still here?
Long list. Some of them, no, long list
Those
that
are
day.
long.
Let's go to the how many still?
Well, they got a few. If you go nationally, they have some. They have quite a few. But it depends how you see numbers from where you're starting from, you know.
Okay.
You know, and it would be, and then some that they own, like George Raymond and the brothers and Floki and some of the girls, or wrestler, Our sister Doris, the Russell Castle, they named the street after her. I told them I didn't want no street named after me. I ain't had nothing to do with that picture on the wall.
Well, that's what
They
you
did it. They did it. They, I mean, they better say the brother. You got this young boy around here. He come up like this. He trombone shorty, and he was doing something with somebody, and I think that's where that started at, you know, because he was around there when they was.
Trombone was taller than he was.
Trombone shorty, little boy. Man, you had a musician now. You all over the world and stuff. You know.
that was one of your.
Well, that's everybody, but he belonged to everybody, but he was around here like this. Somebody took that picture out of him to get him mixed up, but he was quite a few of them, that music thing. But I think sometimes you know, once I was in New York, and this fella, the ex-president, and seeing the brother was shining shoes, and he looked up, we was passing, but I just heard it, I wasn't a part of the conversation, and he was pointing at the fella that was the president before the Trump. I'll be speaking about Trump. And the way this man, he was the shoe shine, he was shining shoes on the street. And he was looking at something Trump did on the sidewalk there in front of his building, and the man just shook his head. And that's what folks are doing today about the same man. Like, can you believe this? This is years ago. I mean, this is quite a few years ago. This brother was shining shoes the way he was saying it. He was checking him, you know. And that was something. Because maybe a week or so later, I was passing there, and he was in the middle of the sidewalk. He went with a group of men, and they was talking. And I was telling my friend, I said, man, you know, I ain't about to step in the street. Not for this. You know, now there had one fella there that had a different kind of decency of the other, right? So he just grabbed him by the arm and moved him on the side. Because I wasn't going to go in that street for him.
But
just to see that, you see this ugliness, man, we could not. That means we still got a long way to go, cause.
But is that a part of the whole strategy of what we call this so-called country? Is keep a divide and conquer?
Oh yeah, it's real. There ain't no if. It's real.
It's real.
It's real. Sure. Look, we look at it. They divided it, and we only had one president. Given the times and the years and this one of us done been in that seat. But look how many of us done died in the wars. And it's still not nowhere near what it's supposed to be. Unless we blind ourselves. Because I mean, if we look at it, and then some of the brothers that get near that seat, they have to reduce themselves to another kind of indecency just to get near the seat, just to get in that groove.
Yeah.
That wasn't no easy ride but that was no easy ride for us to be making this journey we done been on. It's not good. It's not good now.
I mean, but what it is, 60, 70, you've been on this thing for 65 years.
Man, I am what I am since I was a little boy. Ain't nothing changed.
I'm saying, but
I mean, it's been. I don't know how to separate it. I don't know.
It's all
One day said, Dr. King was talking to me, I said, Doc, I don't know how to separate, I don't know how to time it, because of what I did with John. We was in sit-ins, jails, and all this, crippled in one leg before, because of some of that, just that and the other. But what I got into what they classified with certain initials on it, man, it's just been.
We probably need to go get your FBI report.
That helped me. Yeah, that helped.
You never requested that yet?
No, somebody was telling me that.
We gonna get
but look, somebody called, but years ago, something I was in, and the FBI was coming around, and so I forgot what the so many things, but they came around, something had happened. And we had just had a short, I forgot what that's been way back years ago. I just be thankful, man. I be thankful. And that's no joke. To try to maintain a certain kind of simplicity, to be fortunate enough that some of the great artists in the country, I done had a chance to sit with, like I'm sitting with y'all now, and still have some sense of trying to make today and tomorrow better, and however small it is, but just, man, Muhammad Ali come down here, man, he come looking for me. I come looking for me, and he said, he came on his Hunter's Field on one day, and he said, I'm looking for Brother Jerome, blah, blah, blah. But the little kids that's around there, they don't know to me. They call me by my nickname, Big Duck and stuff. Big Duck and stuff. Say, the kids say, I don't know him. You better go ahead and that Big Duck. We don't know no Jerome.
Big Duck.
Yeah, see, we don't know no Jerome. Them young kids, I talk to them voice when I come around. I'll be around there and say, no, don't have big. I think Ali come, and Ali say they got that. This ain't never happened in no school system in the country, man. See, he come there, he said, come on the field. Say, the brother been telling me I needed to come and speak to you. I want you to know I've been impressed with what I've been hearing, and I would like to do something with you, with whatever. I said, well, I don't know, champ, I'm gonna have to get back to you. We gotta think about it, call him in. Man, we packed the Superdome. All the schools with the Muhammad Ali reading contest. All the schools were studying for this.
Did the Muhammad Ali reading contest?
Yes, yes indeed. Yes indeed. Yes indeed.
Never heard of it.
Oh man, I wish I had, but they got it in another place with Muhammad Ali. We went up to his training camp in New Jersey, then he come back, and he came at Hunter's Field over there. That's where I was that day. He come over in there looking. He said, well, look, I don't know too much about reading, but I know how to count. That's why I didn't say that. Yeah, man. Oh, man, that was a beautiful moment.
He came looking for you.
Yeah. I got pictures of that. He got him on this film. I don't know if it's in here or not.
No, I didn't see him in there.
No. I thought he had he took out the thing off of that table. That's John. The other picture was Ali with his thing with them. And
so for the
they want to do something. They want to do, one of them want to do something in school. With this, man. Look at now. This is a great picture. See this? It's a great picture. Now this is library.
Oh yeah, the students, the players, athletes by the library.
Oh yeah, not by the library. If they don't prove they got that library card, they can't play. Simple. I know what you mean. I know what you maintain it. I get rid of adults.
So they do.
Balls and books, we call it. Balls and books.
So they don't even come around without the library card. They don't even come around.
No, but they got to come around. I want them to come around, but they ain't gonna be in that game. They ain't gonna play in the game.
Got the other card.
They got to, the man. They gonna have them on the list. They sign in. You know, And then they good special things they get into. Even with baseball, all that. You gotta advance it, you know. Some fellas didn't have a chance to go to schools and stuff. So you try to assist them where their weakness is. Young kids, young kids, man. Some of them unbelievable.
Now did you and John Lewis and Dr. King, y'all was in jail together?
No doubt, but Doc couldn't hang with us. Doc couldn't hang with me. Too much coming out. And then this thing was so much in here, you know. So it was like we couldn't hang with him in his way. Tell me where he was coming from. Now he could do some of this, but he couldn't hang with me and John Lewis, man. You know, indeed. Man, too many in the country could hang with that. I mean, if you be around it, I mean, it's like somebody coming here and they say, well, he got a picture with John Lewis. John Lewis come down there one time and say, man, these people don't know you. I say, yeah, people know me. Say, man, these people don't know you, man. You know? So they got this picture of me and them sitting next to each other, and we didn't know each other, but we both had the same kind of determination, man.
I remember about 6 years ago, about 6 years ago, I went to the Bayou Classic, not Bayou, Essen Festival.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw this guy walking. My daughter and I brought my daughter. I was taking a picture. I said, that guy looked familiar. He was staring at me, right?
Yeah.
Then he got closer and closer. I got somebody taking a picture. I said, it's Congressman Lewis. He was staring at me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like, you know, because I didn't know, okay, why is he looking at me like this?
Yeah, that sounds like it.
That was interesting.
Well, you're that kind of point seeing something in your character.
I don't think so.
You in Atlanta, the Falcons.
Yeah, but he didn't know it back then. I mean, but he just
something else. He showed you, man. It ain't about the television. You get in the mud with you, man. When John was on that bridge, but you didn't see him when he was going down. The only reason I was on the bridge, I was in jail.
He was in jail.
Yeah, I got caught up in something, and I was supposed to be down there. When you see him seeing that thing with John, you know.
Walking across the bridge.
Yeah, yeah. John and I, man, simple boy. Not so much when he was in Congress. That's one piece of it, man.
I mean, what would y'all talk about then? What kind of conversation you and John Lewis?
Wouldn't have none. We know we was on mission.
We're nothing to talk about. Huh?
Nothing to talk about. You going to get it? I ain't going to get you. You ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about. You know, nothing to talk about.
Do the work.
Man, it's just that simple. You know, I know that the 3 civil rights workers right there, and more than them, we was down there trying to get some information, but we didn't have no information. And we was going all down the Black River, all over, and they're trying to get information, because the automobile them boys was murdered in. There's great singers, 2 of them. Lena Horne, she bought the automobile through some dealer down there. Harry Belafonte came, he took care of something. I got to give him, man. He a lot of stuff he did, he ain't even recorded. Like after the March on Washington, he come down. I don't know how much money he gave him children, man. Him and Sidney Porter here used to come down to Alabama and Mississippi at night.
At night?
That's right. Harry came down there, he was looking for us, and we had contacts that would lead them into places, but they come down there at night because they didn't want to get caught up in that star thing. See, they wanted just so they would come down to the back country. They come to the back country and all of that. They was beautiful.
But other than the Freedom House where y'all stayed at, where were y'all?
We stayed in different places. I done slept under houses, man.
No.
Yeah, because I didn't want the families. They would offer us. I said no. I did that twice. I remember. I slept under a house till my pickup would come to snatch me. Because we didn't want to put the families at risk that they're seeing us going in and out them houses night and day.
So Not only were you in danger, you other people was put in danger.
Oh yeah. Once they got the north, man, they one time they rolled me up in not a blanket, a rug, to get me out of town and stuff.
So you was a troublemaker, huh?
No, they're not. We was all the same. We just was on doing God's work, man. You can't put yourself there. You got to take the you out of it. You got to put it in another hand, because you know. So they rolled me up in these blankets, not these rugs, and when that one fella, and they called him Fluck, they said, look, bro, if they come, I'm not stopping. If they ain't gonna kill us, all of us gonna die. So we ain't stopping. He did it there, Mass Suarez. He looked like a Mexican boy. He was 7 years old. Mass Suarez, man, yes, indeed. And them lunch counters and stuff, all that was easy compared to some of them other situations. But you be thankful. I don't know, at moments I'll be saying, man, did we do that? When we come out of it, when you come out of it, you know, when you come out in the back countries and stuff, and there've been some youngsters way tougher than, but then there a young boy named Gene Young over there in Mississippi. He heard we was tied up in some way. He went and get a man to drive him where we was, and he wasn't but 13 or 14 years old. Gene Young.
He showed up.
He showed up, yeah. See, because when he was a young boy, they used to bring the youngest one. It'd be like a kindergarten class, right? So they bring them to the sessions I was running, and this, that, and the other. And one time, I would be telling them, no, this, that, and this. One time he came to the meeting by the Freedom House, and he went back to get his baseball uniform. But his coach wouldn't give him his uniform, because his coach was against the freedom movement. He was against the struggle over there in Mississippi. Broke his heart, man. Broke his heart, because he was a hell of a little baseball player. And
coach was real to a 13-year-old.
Yeah, took it. He wouldn't give him his suit. He hell of a player. Because see, the white folks had bought him suits. I don't know what the deal was. And man, this boy was so tough. We was in New York, him and one of the other boys, I forget the lady's name, Miss Doris. She said, that lady sitting over there, she wanted to speak to that young man who was making them comments just now. And he said, well, the person that came said, Gene, you have to go speak to this lady. She want to speak to you. She heard something you were saying. And Gene said, well, you tell her to come over here. My mom would tell me, don't speak to no strange white women. Now guess what? He in New York at the Amphitheater Theater. All right, so the woman says, yeah, no, I ain't going over there. My mom would tell me, don't speak to no strange white women. So, and guess who the woman was? Elizabeth Taylor. She got out of her seat. She heard Gene Young. We went to see a play in New York. You know, I was sleeping in a big chair. I was so tired in the lobby there. So they went to see this play on Broadway. And she heard Gene defining things in the play. But the way we would organize the freedom session, the schools and that, the play was not over him, because he's dealing with all the different dimensions of humanity and this, that, and the other, and he's preparing for activities, you know, and they're dealing at tremendous level of study. And she said, I would like to speak to you, and then it this, that, and the other. Said, young man, how did you achieve all this? He told Elizabeth Taylor, and our friend was with us, said, well, why don't y'all come spend a few months with me in Mississippi, and you wouldn't have to ask me that question. Oh, that was something, man.
So how old was he at that time?
Oh, Jim might have been about 12 years old, man. 12 years old, he was like, oh, man. His mama knew something. His mama, they was integrating school there. And there had a lot of black kids that said, if you're gonna stay here, you're gonna get in this truck, you're going to jail. And his mama yelled from across the opposite side of the street, said, Gene, you better not move. That meant I'm going to jail. That's my mama. His mama was holding a baby. His mama was holding the baby and Gene said, Gene, she said it twice, don't you embarrass me. And his mama was the thing about their education. It was integrated school down there in Jackson. So Larry's of Jackson. Mama said, Gene, said, man, I told him, man, I ain't going, I'm going to jail, because if I go home, I'm going to get beat to death.
Can't wait for losing.
Yeah, I'm going to jail. That ain't nothing. Go to jail if I go to the house and battle.
Your mama said, don't you move.
Don't you move.
She know that son get ready to go through.
Yeah, she know that. And she was holding a baby in her arm. Gene's, oh man, Gene. Oh man, he could imitate everybody. When he was up there in New York and wherever, he can imitate everybody. He just so talented.
He's still around?
No, he died young. He took something with his heart, you know. And he was magic, man. He could imitate everybody. He could imitate all them actors and this, that, and the other. And one time they stole a car, trying to come get me out of me and George or somebody with jam. He got an older boy who knew how to drive him down.
With this young boy?
Yeah,
he couldn't even drive.
No, he couldn't drive. He could organize though. Man, we going to get him, man. We going to get him.
I'm talking about a 13-year-old.
Yeah, he might have been 12, man.
He's strategizing on how to get you.
Yeah, he was going to leave Jackson.
So he knew where you were?
Yeah, he knew where we was. We were jammed down in Kent, Mississippi.
Well, how would he know y'all jammed up in there?
Well, because they being part of the freedom discussions by the Freedom House.
Oh, okay.
So he heard them discussing about how we were jammed and where we were going to be situated. They had to tie him down, man.
He was going to get y'all.
Oh, he's something else. He's something else.
That's a good story.
I ain't the only one with Gene now. Oh, yeah, man, I don't have them pictures with me. I had one. I was down there. We was down in he really, him and his brother, and see, that's the thing about them. We had the power of the church, and children was being Sunday school, and they discussed the freedom movement and all that. You see, that's one.
The church would get
well, once they let us in, you got to have some spirit to be respectful of the church. So when I was come to deal with them, that's what I came out of as a young boy in the church down in the ninth ward there. So the thing was, I had some sense of presence. See, and folks wasn't, because a lot of folks was afraid of the freedom movement. They wasn't in there yet. But Jan and them, man, Jan, Ernest, Teresa, all them, we had a lot of brothers and sisters. He organized all the things.
Well, you talking about 12, 13-year-old talking about coming to break you free.
Oh yeah, that ain't no joke. He did it.
Oh, he did it?
I mean, he came, he put the pieces together. What they did, they got word, Fluky and them got word he was coming, so they boxed him off. And what they did, they arranged it so that they could follow, because they knew where I was down there. That's how he got him on. They were trained. That's how they got some. Oh man, that story. I just. Oh man.
Eugene, organizer.
13
He was around us, you know. He come up. Wow. He had heard about where they had shot up this house we was in, and how we got saved. They had 2 outhouses.
Oh, you told us that.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's so he understood something about finding a way. See, he understood about finding a way. And the thing, why when they would be around me, they knew they had to be quiet and listen. So all the fellas that would be working with us, or the sisters that were older than them.
That question, did you serve in the military?
No, so but they had to, that was the deal. And so they had certain procedures. So they know the time thing, it was so crucial, timing, it'd be so crucial, and you have to, if you're dealing with a situation, well, they say, well, if you would say, well, Jerome gonna be at X point at X time. Well, maybe Jerome can't make it, but you have to organize it in a way that he may need 2 or 3 backups.
Y'all had it going on like that.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
the back country, yeah, all the way. And that's another thing. That's just like some of the things we would be in. I see like an old time church picnic where you have to organize all kinds of details like that. So we find reference points that's of their experience and just transfer that to what we be trying to execute, because the details be the same. The management of details.
So as a Freedom Rider, y'all just didn't show up there. Y'all had a whole strategic plan behind it.
Oh yeah.
A plan to get in and a plan to get out.
Oh, we go to jail. We don't get out. Because we start there for you. Don't get in it, because we may not win it on that day. We go to jail. See, and so some people will be, have different roles, but all that was, sometimes I could walk from here before this leg gave me all this trouble. I would leave from out here and walk all the way up to Shakespeare Park when I be trying to just remember things. And I could start here thinking about one thing, and it'll take me all the way uptown, across Canal Street, past the post office, all the way up this year. It'd be so much, you got to filter yourself, because you can get boxed in, if something happen to your mentally if you don't really.
When you got with the PTSD?
Post traumatic. I heard of it with the veterans by watching it.
But the same thing,
but I gotta be, like when I'm either when I want to try to deal with recall, I have to go through a whole. This is what I've been doing with y'all is nothing. That all the experiences, I'm trying to reach a point. So I have to start on A and go past 100. I mean, just going through the points so I could snatch what I want out of it. Because it don't come up like that. It don't come up. So if we say like that, it's really like Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X had asked me to come by that mosque that time. So I go see Malcolm. I walk in the door. Malcolm, everybody give me a little clap. And then when this moment now, I was thinking about this thing I'm about to say now earlier. When Malcolm left the nation, we were in a meeting with some folks who was helping. They were helping. The entertainers was gathering to help Malcolm with whatever he was going to do before he died. When he came into the hotel on 125th Street, and Miles Davis in there, he loved that New Orleans thing with that music. Talking to Miles a minute, and here come Malcolm, and then he bowed at me. That was because he died not too long after that. I always, when I talk like I'm speaking to y'all, that always come to me that moment.
But that was a lot of us dying for a cause back then.
Oh yeah, cause.
But now we dying for just dumb stuff.
Well, we don't know why we dying. We ain't put a definition on it yet. I think that there's an emptiness in our presence, I think, and I'm not the one. There's something about being the other. It's not us. I mean, we dying, but we are acting like the other. When I was coming through, it just was the other. It was white folks coming against us and lynching us and doing this, that, and that kind of dying. Now it's a us on us that we have yet to define, because we was always dying. That's what all the lynching was about. That's what all kind of the horrors that we endured. But now it's another kind of thing.
Well, I think it's worse because it's both.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
us on us, but it's still them
Them
on us too.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with
Yeah,
two.
that's true. Yeah, that's so true.
That's why it's so much worse.
Yeah, well, it's worse. It ain't no doubt about it. And then there's a rigorous, some kind of absence in our there's the absence of something. It's the absence of something that we don't have a shot at maturing. And this is beyond church. It's not a formalized church. There's something that's not present in our existence that allow us to go at us. As now it might be our American experience. It might be this experience allow us to take out us because we done lost something that's been disconnected from us. And when you be in a place like this, you see the number of funerals they be having on this Lamson. So that's so true.
For young people.
Huh?
For young people. So it's like a civil war within your own community.
Well, it's worse than a war.
Yeah, because at least you define that.
Well, yeah, because most wars have a purpose, whether you agree with it or not. When this is something else, it's like a disease that's not defined yet.
We lost a lot through the pandemic.
But then we have some things that's so beautiful about us. There's something so magical, so. I remember one time, old Julia, my family, she was in the come out the public housing, and I just happened to be in town. And she had come through with somebody else, and they was trying to find folks to join the movement, and she joined up, and I wasn't there. But the next time I saw her, she was on one of them Greyhound buses. She was going on one of the rides, and she had took over a meeting in the hall there. She had come out that church. She must have been about 18 or something. And Dr. King went trying to find her because somebody was telling how dynamic she was, and so she was so effective, and how she transformed what she learned in Sunday school, but she had a vocabulary that spoke to the spiritual thing and other things, and she just was in 12th grade or something. And they got this photo of she's getting on the bus, and Dr. King and somebody else is speaking to her, because she had challenged Dr. King in the meeting, and she was about 18 or 19 years old.
Oh.
Julia Aaron.
From New Orleans?
From the Seminar Project.
See that?
She challenged both the game.
Oh yeah, they got the photo of she was in a meeting, and Dr. King persons was trying to stop him from trying to justify as to why he could not get on the bus, which there was right, because you couldn't generate support for the broad-based thing if he just would have been in jail with us. So in terms of organizing strategy, his management people was correct. All right, but philosophically, in terms of that, Julia and them coming out of that church, and their position was that Doc, if he was the leader, he should have been on the bus with them. You know? So that just was a thing of strategy, but the point is, there ain't too many would take a position with Dr. King sitting in that chair and be in opposition to him. She might have been 18 or 19 years old. She come out that project, but he was so humble that after he spoke to the reasons for that strategy, because he had to generate resources and make sure the thing, because he took time. And they got this picture of him and somebody went to speak to her. She's on the bus about to go to jail somewhere, and he was outside. And I think Julia thought that, given to what we come through, that she thought that definitely Doc should have been the lead person if he were the leader. That she should, that's where our head was. But she didn't know what all his other responsibilities were too, you know, in terms of making sure certain things could happen, continue to happen.
Is Julia still around?
No, she died young. She died when she was she died young. She was.
What was her last name?
Julia Aaron.
Aaron.
So she was a warrior then.
Yeah, Julia.
There was a lot of women from this area part of that too, part of the movement.
Oh, they had one that come out of their circle, you know, the sister, quite a few of them that come through here that was Julia and Doris and Jean.
Did y'all go to like South Carolina, North Carolina?
And all over. I went into Carolinas and South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, everywhere. We was all over. Because they had this thing, the ones had certain experiences. People wanted you to come because they know we had survived.
They know who to call.
Yeah, but they want us to share our experiences with.
Oh, so you were going down. That's how you help get past your impediments, because you.
Oh yeah.
You was going to speak a lot of places.
And then we had history. Folks had history. I mean, they had when they had the riots and all. We got caught up in Washington and all that. Stokely and them, but a lot of the same people was in all the movements.
Did you have a chance to meet H. Rap Brown?
H. Rap Brown?
You don't know nothing about H. Rap Brown.
Yes, indeed, man. H. Rap Brown, that's one of my people. I'm gonna tell you how H. Rap Brown become H. Rap Brown. We was in a car coming out of Southern University, and we was on the way downtown to a demonstration. Ed Brown, Rap's brother.
Oh, I know Ed.
Well, Ed was in so Ed was into thing, and they had sent for me to come up for something in Baton Rouge. Well, there's people there. He from Baton Rouge and stuff, and so I was. So the driver, H. Rap Hubert, said he wanted to come in the car with us. And the driver said, "No, you can't get in here with him, man. You can't. No." Said they already know. Speaking to me and another fella I was with, Herman. Say, "No, you have to go." Say, "No, I won't get in here." Say, "No, you cannot get in this car
with you."
Yeah, they didn't want me because we was already spotted. They knew me from,
Oh,
and they didn't want to get him jammed because he was a youngster then. And we didn't want him to get jammed into that jail thing right then. He got his share of jail later on, but we didn't want him.
I was trying to protect him for a while.
Not so much, but we had worked with him. We didn't know he was a youngster, and we didn't know what we were. So and at the point of them when they was gassing the cars and all that stuff. And so, H. Rap Brown, oh man, he's one of my people. He come on this field where I be in Huntersville. He come down there.
How you got the name H. Rap Brown?
I don't know, Hubert. Hubert, Hubert Brown, that's his name. Yeah, he's something else.
So you became H. Rap Brown.
Yeah, that's his name, Hubert. But they call it H. Rap Brown. So them youngsters love rap.
Yeah, so you knew Ed too?
Yeah. And Atlanta, H. Rap Brown, man, he used to come through here, man. He come down, oh man. Oh man, he was so young following us. He he was young, teenager. He was there. He wanted to come. He wanted to roll in. That's before he became popular. Oh yeah. He had heard out about our reputation. You know, you're not youngsters. We was like cowboys. He wanted to get the COVID out so he could go out so bad and talk that trash. You know? He said, yeah, they coming. Said, yeah, they said, see, he didn't really know me. See, why they so secretive about me and Melvin? And see, why? So he wanted to find out what made us special.
Oh, gosh.
He's something else, man. And then we sent kids later on to stay in his house in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, man.
They still got him locked up over some foolishness.
Oh, yeah, man. He one of one, man. I talk about H-Rap. Oh, man, that one of my folks there.
Yeah, I know you lit up when I said
Yeah.
Huh?
You lit up when I said
Oh man, he wanted to be with the big boys because I was older than me. I'm big college students. He was like down in right there in the 9th or 10th grade, maybe that. He want to be there.
He was a partner. He was tall.
Oh yeah, he was tall. But he wanted it. He was in it. He was in it, man. He was in it. Him and that, man. But rap, talented too, man. Fearless.
What kind of talent?
He just was fearless in entering certain things. He just, he had a way of, he had a hardness and the softness that he knew how to use those emotions in situations, But he was like a high school boy. Let me go to the restroom for a minute. Get my can out of there.
Yeah.
I sat on this chair
No,
too.
we need to take off too, man.
Okay. I get this meat good.
Wake it up, huh? Gotta wake it up, huh?
Just don't need it. They're gonna die on it.
Die certainly.
No, it's worse than that. He got beat up and poisoned. That's what that is. That's what it come. I should have got up
Be a little bit more.
10 minutes after I sat down.
You like a little cheer. You gonna make it, though.
If I don't make it out, but I get up again. Don't quit.